Welcome back into HQ Spotlight here on CBS Sports Network. Okay, taking a look at the upcoming UFC schedule. We got UFC Fight Night coming up this Saturday with Bautista versus Oliveira. BC, let's get ready for these fights. We're going to start in the bantamweight division with the main event. Mario Bautista looking to rebound from his 8-fight win streak that he snapped, lost to Umar Nurmagomedov, so we know he's extra hungry going into this.
Here, look, Mario Bautista really in recent years put himself in position to be an absolutely legitimate bantamweight contender, as you mentioned. 8 straight victories. He's got a complete, well-rounded game, and the part I like about it the most is he operates at such a high pace on top of that. Fully confident whether he needs to grapple or he does need to brawl. Of course, he ran into Umar Nurmagomedov, who I believe is one of the top 10 pound-for-pound fighters in this game, and maybe even the uncrowned champion in the division, yet Bautista dropped him. He had some moments on the ground, even though Nurmagomedov is an absolute savant when it comes to wrestling. Here you see Bautista Saturday night back in the Apex, back in a main event with an opportunity to put that loss behind him and continue to carve out his path toward an eventual title shot. You see some of those names he took out on the way through that 8-fight win streak. Very impressive. Bautista is always going to be a tough out in this division. We'll see what he's going to do with Vinicius Oliveira come Saturday night.
Both of these guys are ranked, and so this fight means so much to both of them, trying to move up in those rankings, eventually get a title shot here. Let's talk about his contender in Vinicius Oliveira, and the word you used is unbridled blast of explosive excitement. I guess those are many words here. He's somewhat new to UFC, so for people watching him who are unfamiliar with his game, has not lost in the octagon. Why is he so dangerous?
Because you never know what's coming from Loke Dog out of Brazil. Look, you can call him a dog because that's what he is in there. He doesn't come with traditional technique or traditional fight planning. He just explodes. The thing you have to love best about Vinicius Oliveira is that he's looking to finish the fight, whether on the feet or on the ground, basically every second that he's in there. 4-0 to kick off his UFC run. This, by the way, is an incredible step up, not only in competition, but him going up to the 5-round main event level. Yet he's passed all the tests put in front of him. That 2024 victory over Ricky Simone definitely turned a lot of heads that this guy could be for real. The best part about him is he's so fun to watch. Creative striking. You saw that leaping knee in the highlight right there against Said Nurmagomedov. We don't really know if Oliveira is of this level, but it's going to be fun to find out because he just brings it all the time. And even if he has a technical disadvantage against Bautista, he's going to look to explode right through that. So tune in Saturday night. It's going to be a good one.
All right, the next guy we're going to talk about here is one of my personal favorites, as you know, Kyoji Horiguchi here. For those, look, MMA fans know him. He was a Bellator champion. He was a Ryzen champion, a UFC title contender. That said, not many fights with UFC, just the one. He's gone back and forth. He's gone through injuries. He has torn his ACL. He has had torn rib cartilage here. He's such a fan favorite at American Top Team. Kayla Harrison loves this guy. He's a trash talker. With this fight, with a win, could he potentially start getting closer to a title shot again?
I think it's even closer than closer. I think he could get one here. Look, the 35-year-old made his return to UFC after a decade away. He's got a very tough fight against Amir Albazi in the co-main event on Saturday night. Look, this might be the best matched fight on the entire card. But the reason why Gooch looks like he's ready for a belt is he's been a complete fighter and one of the best flyweights in the world for going on more than a decade. The problem is he not only was not fighting in the UFC, he wasn't fighting in his division. He was up at bantamweight. You mentioned he captured titles in Ryzen and in Bellator, but now he's going back down to flyweight, where he has not lost a fight since losing the UFC flyweight title opportunity he got back in 2015 against all-time great Demetrius Johnson. He's still got a complete game at 35, and his return to the UFC last year really announced that he's still here at age 35. And you mentioned the ATT connection there. He's a teammate with former champion Alexander Pantoja, who just lost his belt in December due to injury there against Joshua Van. They had said that they would fight each other despite being teammates teammates because Pantoja knows how big of an opportunity it would be for Horiguchi's career. But a guy that has not lost in this weight class for more than a decade comes back to the UFC with a complete game, can submit you like he did Tagir Ulanbekov in his UFC return in November, and he can also knock you out. This is a big-time pickup for the UFC, and if he gets past, an always tough Amir Albazi, look, I don't know what the UFC is going to do. It's going to depend on the health of Alexandre Pantoja. Will they do an immediate rematch with Joshua Van? Either way, Horiguchi could be next in line with a victory. This is an exciting storyline to watch.
There's so much power in those fists when it comes to him. And thank you for clarifying. Yes, his return, only one fight since his return to UFC because he has not been there since 2016. Kyoji Horiguchi, a huge member of ATT. We know those camps are big. Those groups that you're a part of are so big. And the next guy we're going to talk about who's on this card, Michal Oleksiejczuk, and apparently he's changed camps and it has turned him around.
Yeah, he has. Look, this southpaw from Poland is always the type of feast or famine aggressive fighter where you know what he's going to bring, all action, and he's either going to get stopped or he's going to knock you out. But he ran into a hiccup there. 4 losses in 5 fights in recent years. What did it lead him to do? He went back to the drawing board, moved his camp to Brazil, to the Fighting Nerds camp that has produced Kyle Bohalio, Lord John Silva, so many big names, Mauricio Hufi in recent years. And since doing that, it's been 2-0 with 2 explosive first-round TKO wins. Look, it's going to take a little bit longer for Oleksiejczuk to truly enter title contention here, but as he enters a fight against the always durable Marc-Andre Barriault on Saturday, this is a fun little run for Oleksiejczuk. Joining the savage reputation of that gym has certainly turned him around and added to his danger, but I think it is the fact also that Oleksiejczuk's being a little bit more responsible defensively of late. A big-time hitter, not afraid to enter the fire. He's a fun fighter, and he looks even sharper with this change of late.
Final guy we want to focus on when it comes to UFC Fight Night coming up this weekend, Farid Basharat, who is undefeated still. He is 14-0, and he's looking to crack that bantamweight top 15 here. We'll mention his brother is also on this card, so that's a lot of fun. But for Farid, what do we need to know going into this weekend?
Well, Ferocious Farid, the 28-year-old from Afghanistan, is the younger brother you mentioned of Javid, who was on the prelim card. But look, Farid, we want to find out if he's for real in this bantamweight division. A very glossy 14-0 record, 5 wins in 5 appearances since making his UFC debut in 2023. He also won on the Dana White Contender Series before that. He's got a heck of a ground game. He's fought to a decision, in 4 of those 5 wins. He's got a fight come Saturday night. Could be a showcase opportunity, though, against a 14-1 Gene Matsumoto. Should be a high-pace contest there in the bantamweight division. But if Farid Basharat continues this run, you have to believe a victory on Saturday could get him into the top 15 in one of the sport's deepest divisions. He's an interesting player to watch moving forward on what should be a fun fight night card in the Apex this Saturday.
Say that 5 times fast. We'll find out if Ferocious Farid is for real. BC, we appreciate it. I will be texting you soon to see if you respond. UFC on Paramount. Look, we have UFC 324, 325 already in the books. It is only February 2nd. UFC Fight Night coming up on February 7th.
Back here on HQ, we have a bantamweight matchup between Mario Bautista and Vinicius Oliveira slated to headline a UFC Fight Night event on Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Out of Las Vegas, Bautista had an 8-fight winning streak snapped in October after losing a decision to Nurmagomedov at UFC 321. Oliveira, by the way, is 4-0 and then in the UFC and has won 6 in a row overall. It is all going down February 7th from Vegas. Let's welcome in Brian Campbell to break it all down. Let's start with Bautista, the number 9 ranked contender in the bantamweight division. BC, break down his fight style for us.
Well, Bautista is high pace all the time, which certainly makes him a very tough out, especially in 5-round main events, which we'll see this Saturday night in the Apex. At 32 years old, Bautista comes from Nevada, had that 8-fight win streak that you mentioned, which really kind of took the division by storm, especially when he's adding legendary names like Jose Aldo to his resume on the journey there. And even though he snapped that win streak last time out against Umar Nurmagomedov, who I vote in my top 10 pound for pound as one of the most skilled and well-rounded fighters in the game, you've got to give Bautista a ton of credit. He hung with Umar for all 15 minutes of that fight, not just from the standpoint of pace. He knocked Umar down. He also had some nice reversals on the ground, which is exceptional considering the fact that Nurmagomedov is obviously a wrestling savant with that last name. He's still very much in title contention here as he gets put back in a main event to see what he can do against the explosive Oliveira. But if you know Bautista's game, he's going to be on you with the striking, he's going to mix in takedowns, and he's basically going to look to outwork you and wear you out. Bautista is of the elite in this division. This is going to be a tough test for his opponent.
All right, let's talk about that opponent, Oliveira, who's risen to 12 in the division on a 6-fight win streak, including 4-0 in the UFC. So what do we need to know about his fight style?
I just smile when you say his name because Vinicius Oliveira is one of the more fun fighters to watch in this entire sport. Nicknamed Loke Dog, the 30-year-old from Brazil is all action all the time, looking to finish the fight every second of the fight, whether he's on the feet, whether he's on the mat. He can grapple with you, he can land flying shots, but the best part about him is there's really an unorthodox element to the way he delivers his offense. You really never know what is coming, you just know he's coming at you the whole time. 4-0 in the UFC, as you mentioned, although the last 3 fights have gone to decision, which stopped a stretch of stoppage victories from him on the regional level all the way through the Dana White Contender Series. But some of those victories along the way, particularly that Ricky Simone win in 2024, really turned some heads that the UFC might have something special here. Seeing Oliveira elevated to a main event against this difficult of a step-up test really shows you that the organization realizes that this could be an exciting player in the division. He's not as skilled as Bautista, but if he can bring the fight to the veteran and the explosive ways that he's built a reputation for so far, it's going to be a very interesting main event if it even goes 25 minutes on Saturday.
So with Oliveira and Bautista, BC, break down the keys for each fighter to get a win, even more so, and then also give us your pick. Who do you think is going to come out on top?
Well, even though Oliveira is dangerous on the ground, like I mentioned, he's always looking to finish the fight or attack in some unorthodox way. I do think wrestling will be the key for Bautista, especially if he can extend this fight into those later rounds. Put Oliveira in a spot where he's never been before, a full 25-minute fight at an electric pace. So if you're Bautista, you are obviously looking to spam him with the striking and the jab, but mix in those takedowns to really make him think. Because the thing about someone like Oliveira, when he's flowing, when he is just out there reacting, that is when he is the most dangerous. So it's going to be up to Bautista to really stretch out that gas tank of Oliveira while avoiding the big shot. And that's not going to be easy, because what does Oliveira do best? Comes at you with stuff you didn't even imagine could be coming your way. So if you're Oliveira, you're going to have to stretch out the gas tank. It's always a step up from the 3-round level to the 5-round level. Even when it happens in title fights, we see so many fighters not know what exactly the cardio is needed for that until they get there very often. So Oliveira's going to have to stay explosive, stay dangerous, but he's going to have to find a way to extend that over 25 minutes and still be there in the later rounds if Bautista extends him there. This is, like I mentioned, the toughest fight of Oliveira's career and a real step-up opportunity for the UFC to find out exactly what they have here. Nobody really looks good against Mario Bautista. Even Nurmagomedov, as I mentioned, who got dropped and really had to work hard. So it seems like the advantages are in Bautista's favor, unless, that is, Oliveira is even more explosive and better than we thought coming in. That's really the central narrative of what we're going to see Saturday night.
BC, we certainly appreciate it. Previewing the UFC Fight Night. You can watch again on Paramount Plus on Saturday out of Las Vegas. And, of course, that main event, a bantamweight matchup between Mario Bautista and Vinicius Oliveira. Again, that is headlining UFC Fight Night as the UFC on Paramount Plus era continues.